Recording in progress.
Naturally, because it's cat, but you cannot say that they will not be allowed. They pay the fees, they have the right to attend the class regardless. Now, when you're faced with 2-3 students who don't have a laptop, it's their issue, not yours. Okay. But of course, I'm not saying just keep quiet. Tell them, but you need to have it, else you are you can only observe and you cannot participate, and hence you will not. But don't tell them you're not allowed to. And I think
Good morning, everybody. So I welcome you all to the session on the Indian craft industry. So introducing the speaker for the day, Ms. Sonali Sonipal. She's the co-founder for 2323 Designs, a visionary with the experience in building sustainable relationships for implementing social change through collaboration and market linkages for social enterprises and philanthropic community for non-farm livelihoods. Passionate for developing and promoting crafts and artisan communities. Currently, she's also working with FDRVC, a joint venture between Ministry of Rural Development and the Tata Trust. She's a master's in design from NIFT Delhi and a graduate in sociology honors with 20 plus years of experience in design, training business, working in areas of strategic tie-ups with craft and social development sector. She has extensively worked with Textile Weaver Cluster and contributed in capacity building, product development, and scalability. She has held principal positions with Seva Bharat, Access Development Services, Development Alternatives, and is a technical and design advisor with NGOs and cluster groups. Now I request Ma'am, Ms. Sonali Sonipal, to help us understand the scope of Indian handicrafts in the future of design industry. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such kind words and simple and short introduction. As all of you know that my name is Sonali Pal, and I welcome you with a warm welcome for today's webinar. If you want me to stop in between and ask some questions, you're most welcome to ask. Otherwise, we could also do a question and answer session after the after I finish my presentation. Just letting you know, my presentation also has some videos inbuilt. I would be playing some videos on the YouTube also, but we tried it in one of the practice sessions. The sound is not going through. So bear with me. Just see the video. I'll share the links, and maybe at a later stage, the students can have a look at the videos again.
Sure, ma'am.
So before we start that, where is craft today in today's modern world? I would like to just touch upon a simple thing that what is craft. So in today's design world, especially the design institutes, it's very good that we are trying to sensitize our students towards traditional crafts of India. But and it is very easy for students to also have a look or have a peek at the traditional crafts, because we have fairs like the Saras Mela, the Dastkar Mela, and you're able to see a lot of crafts there. There's Delhi Hat also. But what you're seeing now is a contemporary version of craft, and it has also evolved. So craft was always meant to be something which was hand done, and many years back, that means during the time of when the kingdoms were there, the whole idea of craft was that the artisan was making a product for self consumption. And उनमें से जो artisans थे जिनकी skillmanship बहुत ज्यादा high हो जाती थी, those were known as master artisans. And then those master artisans had their own fan followership, like you have it on Instagram these days. And then these master craftsmen were called upon by maybe some rich merchants or the kings, or the elite class, to create very exquisite single products for their own consumption. Again, it was for single individual consumption. When India was invaded by other rulers, whether it was the Mughals or it was the Iranians, or any other foreign-based people coming to India, these foreigners, they realized that the skillmanship in India of these simple crafts is very high, and they wanted to take this craft back to their country. And while doing so, they also realized that a better business model is to turn it into a mass production, a bulk order. So while doing the bulk order, what happened is that the craft started being produced in mass production. So with mass production, the whole idea came to that it has to be produced faster, and because we are making it in bulk, we would want it to be cheaper. So faster and cheaper somehow brought the quality of the craft down. And over the years, although you see craft all across now, the value of craft started diminishing in terms of skillmanship. I see a raised hand. Let me come to next slide, and then we can talk. Now, what has happened with craft is also that some of the contemporary designers have realized that craft is luxury also, because आप एक चीज हाथ से बना रहे हो, बहुत ज्यादा टाइम लगा रहे हो, and you're looking at perfection in it, and that is why it is a luxurious product, and that is why now craft is being revived as a luxury product. You do see a lot of things in the market which is mass produced. So now there are two school of thoughts. The one is that we would want it to be mass produced because it gives regular income to the artisan, which works very well for the artisan, because all around the year they have something to earn through. And then there are very exquisite pieces because कुछ craftsmen उस level तक पहुंच गए हैं जहां पे skill इतना अच्छा है that he can or she can demand his price for his skillmanship. And this is what the two sectors of craft is at today's time. Somebody raised a hand. Somebody wants to talk?
Ma'am, probably that was by mistake at that point of time.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So this is one of my favorite slides all through my presentations. So our humble jharu. Now the point is this, that craft, as I said, means everything that we are doing by hand. And as I also said that in earlier days, हम जो भी बना रहे थे वो अपने सेल्फ कंजम्पशन के लिए बना रहे थे, चाहे वो हमारा सिंपल सा झाड़ू क्यों ना हो. एंड अगर आप इन 4 पिक्चर्स को देखोगे, एक हर झाड़ू अलग तरह से बंधा हुआ है. So one is, and then each one is a different grass also. So the material and how it is tied and the shape of the jharu is also serving the utility of it. क्या आप लंबा झाड़ू ले रहे हो सड़क साफ करने के लिए, या आपका छोटा झाड़ू है आपका रूम साफ करने के लिए. These days they have come up with these very small, almost size of a painting brush to clean your laptops also, with very soft bristles, again natural grass. So the point is to not to look at craft in thinking that it's an aspirational product. It could be as simple as jharu. And let me tell you this, Google, they have a page called Arts and Culture. They have in fact done a research on different brooms around the world, what materials they are using and how they're tied. So anything as simple as jharu can be also categorized under the craft. Here I want to talk about craft inspirations. Now, artisans की inspirations कहाँ से आती हैं? Your artisans are basically getting inspired from their ambience around them, their lifestyle. And we can see a stark evolution in the craft inspiration in these 3 pictures. So my first one is, now this is Worli art from Maharashtra. इसमें आपके जो the typical design होता है, the way you're able to recognize is the triangle man. Now in the first picture it shows that there's a spiral. So usually गांव में जब ट्राइबल डांसेस होते हैं तो वैसे सर्कल बना के डांस करते हैं. एंड इफ यू सी इन द फर्स्ट वन, छोटे छोटे घर हैं जिसमें हट्स बनी हुई हैं व्हिच आर लाइक कच्चा हाउसेस. डांस हो रहा है. देयर इज अ लेडी हियर जो बच्चे को पालने में झूला झूला रही है. कुछ लोग यहाँ से सामान लेके जा रहे हैं, कुछ लोग यहाँ पे खेती कर रहे हैं. सो दैट इज द इंस्पिरेशन इन olden days. Then slowly some development happened and how the inspiration changed. A lot of infrastructure came in. You can see trains here, a little of buses, and somehow the houses here and here have become pakka houses. And when we come to the last one, again, a lot of buildings, aapke pakka roads with a lot of cars on it, cars, scooters, and a lot of people. So you will always see evolution in the craft inspirations. Now, there's a two school of thoughts which run in the craft sector. There's one school of thought which says that craft should not evolve. नए colors नहीं जाने चाहिए. You should not contemporize the designs because somehow the sanctity of the traditional craft dies off. And the others say that the other school of thought says that sorry, I'm sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So the second school of thought says that there should be evolution because that is how the younger generation gets attracted to the craft. There should be contemporary colors. There should be contemporary motifs and patterns inspired from the current world. but both are right on in their own ways, and that is why both the things are happening. And so it's not something that we should look at in a negative manner or in a judgmental manner, but both school of thoughts are correct on their own paths. Now, what is the role of a craft artisan? The biggest issue currently in the craft sector is that craft is not being documented. And when I say documented, I mean in a holistic way. We do have a lot of research projects which are happening. Students do go for craft documentation also. There's IIT Mumbai who has opened a open source called D Source. Google is doing documentation, but all the documentation is in either in text form or video form. Or what happens is that maybe you can document the process of the craft, but you're not really able to capture the real meaning behind the craft. As we discussed in the last slide, that the craft is getting inspired from the ambience around them. And it is only the artisan, whether a woman or man, or sometimes children are also involved in craft these days. They are the ones who are actually able to tell the story behind the craft. And they do it also. It's that when this mass production has started, that somehow that the storytelling behind the craft has somehow slowly dying. So your craft artisan is not just a skilled person trying to make beautiful products, but he or she is a storyteller also. And it's the craft artisan only who can explain the evolution of motifs, colors, patterns, and why it happened and how it happened. Many times what also happens in craft, जब आप ग्राउंड पे जाते हैं और आर्टिजन के साथ बात करते हैं, कई बार कोई डिजाइन एक्चुअली गलती से बन जाता है, याद नहीं रहा, कुछ गलत टांका लग गया या कुछ कलर गिर गया, तो दे हैड टू रीवर्क ऑन इट. एंड मेनी टाइम्स वो जो गलती होती है, it tends to start selling well, because as consumers we are also looking at something new, something different. तो जो चीज चली आ रही है वो तो ट्रेडिशनल हो गया, बट अचानक से कुछ नया आया तो वो हमारे लिए नॉवल हो गया, समथिंग न्यू. सो वो क्यों चेंज हुआ, even if it was a mistake, it is only the artisan who can tell you. I'll be running this video here. The whole purpose of this video here is that the artisans, ये आपका कला रक्षा एक भुज में एक NGO है. They they take women from the village and they give them work. And आप देखेंगे इसमें जो ladies हैं वो बहुत old है. In fact, the oldest lady in their cluster is around 82 years old. And you can see also in this picture, they have these tattoo lines on their hands, which actually marks their, not their age actually, it marks their number of years of married life. And they mostly wear black. And let's just look at this video. That's the oldest lady in the group. So the whole purpose of this video was to show, the tattoos on their hand, and you can see the wrinkles on their hand. They're like really aged. And the good thing about these clusters is that all the women, they come to one community center, they sit together and सिर्फ craft नहीं कर रहे, सिर्फ mass produce नहीं कर रहे, but it's more about bonding. It's more about, coming together, talking. आज मेरे घर में ये हुआ, तुम्हारे यहाँ क्या हुआ, पूरा गांव एक साथ बैठ के डिस्कस करता है, बातें होती हैं. That is the main crux of, the craft bringing the artisans together. This is Ramji Weaver again from Kutch. I'll be running this video. He's speaking in Gujarati. थोड़ी थोड़ी आपको समझ में आ जाएगी. But he's somebody who has evolved not just in his thought process, but in his designs also. And what is very interesting is that he would be using the words during his Gujarati dialogue, such as turning point, exposure, lifestyle. So when he has been going to different fairs, whether it is Dastkar, and I think he's been to Santa Fe also once, uh, he's actually talking about कि कंटेम्पररी वर्ल्ड में जो उन्होंने देखा, जो उनको एक्सपोजर हुआ, how he brought that in his own design. So how his designs changed. I'm going to run this. So the other thing about artisans is also that, as I said earlier, that many times, and जैसे राम जी ने भी बोला कि कई बार होता है कि the government or the NGOs who are involved in livelihoods, they usually come and give training in skill development. But believe me, these artisans are already very highly skilled. Skill nahi chahiye. They don't want to learn skill. What they want to learn is how to make it better, how to think as a designer, how to sell it, where to sell it, and simple things like कि हम पिक्चर कैसे खींचें, इंस्टाग्राम का अकाउंट कैसे बनाएं, बायर से कैसे बात करें. So this is one video where the left hand side video is kalamkari. Both are kalamkari actually. The first one is the artisan doing freehand drawing with a very small piece of charcoal, and then of course enhancing the same drawing with the kalamkari pen on the right hand side. So I'm going to run just a small snippet of both of them. And here he's enhancing the same design with the kalamkari pen. So you can see the workmanship without even looking at any picture. They come up with these designs through their own imagination and absolutely freehand drawing. So skill बहुत ज़्यादा है. Maybe what they need is new designs. new patterns. Craft also leads to innovation. So जो आपका artisan है वो जुगाड़ू भी है. I don't know how many of you have seen a handloom weaving या हैंडलूम पे वीवर को काम करते हुए. तो यूजली क्या होता है कि जब ऐसे ऐसे वो वीव कर रहा होता है, ताना बाना ऐसे ऐसे बीट कर रहा होता है, तो थोड़ी थोड़ी देर बाद आपको लूम को रोक के उसको रोल करना पड़ता है फैब्रिक को, जिसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि आपका जो वीविंग का जो रिदम है वो रुक जाता है. एंड दैट इज व्हाई यू मोस्टली सी हैंडलूम फैब्रिक में व्हेन यू पुट इट अगेंस्ट द सनलाइट you will be able to see broad stripes in it, because जो आपका फैब्रिक बीटिंग है उसकी जो डेंसिटी है वो कहीं कम हो जाती है, कहीं ज्यादा हो जाती है. Now this weaver, what he has done is, I'm going to play it. He's put a small gear on his loom, जिसमें उसको बार बार वीव करते वक्त रोकना नहीं पड़ रहा है. And automatically the roll of the fabric is getting rolled on its own. And by doing so, what has happened is, number one, आपका quality better हो गया because your stripes are not coming in it. Number two, क्योंकि हम बार बार रोकते हैं और रोल करते हैं, तो I'm losing time. So जहां हमारा normal loom है उसमें हम करीब 8 मीटर एक दिन में बना लेते हैं, और यहाँ पे क्योंकि continuous हम weaving कर रहे हैं, so my production capacity has increased to 12 meters a day. So the weaver is able to do it much faster. This is the gear, because of which this rolling on its own at a particular pace. Okay, this is Rogan art. रोगन आर्ट इस वक्त इंडिया में सिर्फ एक फैमिली है, गफूर भाई की फैमिली. He has been doing it for quite some time, and in fact he's won an award also now, a Padma Shri award for it. कुछ साल पहले when I spoke to him, so I was also in design academics. I used to teach quite a few years back. In fact, Ankur sir was my colleague also. जब मेरी गफूर भाई से बात हुई एंड आई सेड कि आई वांट टू ब्रिंग स्टूडेंट्स ओवर टू शो देम कि आप क्या बनाती हो, कैसे बनाती हो, उस वक्त उन्होंने साफ मना कर दिया. ही सेज ये हमारा फैमिली ट्रेड सीक्रेट है, हम किसी को दिखाते नहीं हैं, हम ही एक फैमिली है जो ये बनाते हैं, हम किसी को नहीं दिखाएंगे. विद एज ही रियलाइज्ड दैट he will pass away someday, one day, and ये जो क्राफ्ट है वो उन्हीं के साथ रह जाएगा. एंड क्राफ्ट इज समथिंग जो आप अपने पास बांध के नहीं रख सकते. इट इज फॉर एवरीबडी टू अप्रिशिएट. और जब कोई होगा ही नहीं उसको बनाने के लिए, तो फिर वो अप्रिशिएट कैसे किया जाएगा. तो पहले हम ये रोगन आर्ट की वीडियो देखेंगे. इट्स ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 3D पेंटिंग, बट यू कैन लुक एट द डेक्सटेरिटी ऑफ द हैंड, how they're doing a 3D painting with free hand. And मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगी कि बेसिकली ये कास्टर ऑयल और नेचुरल डाई पिगमेंट से बनता है, जिसमें पेड़ में से जो गम होती है वो निकाली जाती है और कास्टर ऑयल के साथ उसको बॉईल किया जाता है फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 6 to 8 hours. एंड दिस बॉइलिंग कैन नॉट बी डन इन योर हाउस होल्ड, बिकॉज जब वो बॉयल होता है तो उसमें से बहुत पंजेंट स्मेल आती है, विच इज वेरी वेरी बैड. सो दीज आर्टिजन्स ये अपना पूरा सामान लेके जंगल में जाते हैं और वहां पे उसको बॉयल करते हैं, सो दैट दैट स्मेल डजंट स्प्रेड थ्रू द विलेज. देन दे कम बैक and make this paste out of it, and then they use it for painting. Yes, Pooja, Khatri family from Gujarat. that's a fast version of in the video. And now I would want to show you Gafur Bhai. So बहुत सालों बाद जब गफूर भाई को रियलाइज हुआ कि ये क्राफ्ट उनके साथ ही चला जाएगा, खत्म हो जाएगा, then he agreed that he will start showcasing the craft to others. In fact, he started a small school jahan pe youngsters from Gujarat itself, Kutch itself, come and learn from him. And now he's open to the idea that anybody can, contact him and learn the craft. And by doing so, he created a wave of, giving away the craft to everybody. And this initiative of his was recognized, and finally he actually won a Padma Shri award also. Sorry. These are Chipa brothers, Govind Chipa and Vishal Chipa. मैं इनके साथ बहुत काम करती हूँ. गोविंद छिपा जी बड़े भाई हैं, and of course Vishal is the younger brother, and they're experts in natural dyeing, especially indigo dyeing. And इस वक्त क्या है, आर्टिजन्स बहुत प्रकार की इंडिगो डाइंग करते हैं. तो एक तो रेडीमेड इंडिगो केक मिलता है, इंडिगो होता है जेन्युइन, बट वो ऐसे साबुन की टिक्की की तरह मिलता है. इट्स मच इजियर टू put it in a dye bath and faster version. Whereas छिपा ब्रदर्स जो हैं वो जेन्युइन इंडिगो लीव्स लेके आते हैं, अपने घर के पीछे उसको ड्राई करते हैं. उसके बाद एक बड़ा सा उनके घर के पीछे कुआं है, डाई बाथ है, जिसमें इंडिगो लीव्स को फिर फर्मेंट किया जाता है. सो द इंडिगो लीव्स नीड टू बी फर्मेंटेड एटलीस्ट 3 to 6 days टू एक्चुअली गिव द ब्लू कलर. एंड दिखने में पानी ग्रीन कलर का होता है, बट जब हम डाई करते हैं तो फिर उसमें से blue indigo आता है. Now, what has happened between the brothers is, and this is a picture of both their hands. साफ वाला हाथ विशाल का है और इंडिगो वाला हाथ गोविंद जी का है. Vishal has also done a crash course of design, and he takes care of design development and marketing. Whereas Govind ji takes care of full production. And आपस में इनकी सांठ-गांठ ऐसी है कि गोविंद जी कहते हैं कि विशाल प्रोडक्शन में नहीं जाएगा क्योंकि इंडिगो से एक्चुअली हाथ खराब हो जाते हैं. So indigo is a very, very strong dye, and while dyeing you should always wear gloves. But gloves से फिर आपके कपड़े स्लिप होते हैं, मजा ही नहीं आता, वो सेम इफेक्ट नहीं आता जो आपको exactly चाहिए. So this is their hands, and this has also happened, which is very quite prominent in the craft sector right now, that the younger generation, either they don't want to get into the craft at all, even if their traditional family has been into it, because they see their parents or their grandparents struggling with craft. Itna kaam nahi hai. The other version is that some of the younger generations, they've realized that craft का scope बहुत ज़्यादा है, but जैसे कि मैंने पहले कहा कि artisans, they don't know where to sell, how to sell, at what price to sell. So some of the smarter ones, what they've done is they've gone ahead, they've done their own studies, whether it's an MBA or a design development course, and come back to the craft, to the family business, and have enhanced it in their own way. So here, this is a typical, very good example of how the younger generation has tried to take the business ahead, and the older generation says, "ठीक है, I'm okay with managing the production and the backhand." this is of course me all over the places. This I want to tell to the students that craft is something जो आप desktop पे बैठ के नहीं सीख सकते. And as I said, that craft is being documented. You can read about it, but craft का जो real feel है, वो ground level पे ही जाके आता है. और मतलब जो मजा आता है ground level पे जाके, मतलब आप आर्टिसन से बात करते हो, साथ में बैठो, मास्टर जी चाय पियेंगे, and they're so humble, so sweet. They'll tell their whole life story to you, and the colors, the motifs, the smells, it's an absolutely different experience. So if you really want to delve into the craft sector, even if let's say you say that मुझे अपना final collection, not just for fashion people, but if you're product designers or communication designers or interior designers, and you want to do some product of yours in craft sector, then you need to go there on the ground and get it done. You cannot call from here and say कि मेरे को वो design अच्छा लग रहा है, मैं picture भेज रहा हूँ, आप same copy करके भेज दो. Doesn't work. You have to be there, and it will take you places. And that is why your knowledge brings richness to it once you go on the ground. The second version of this is that when you go on the ground, you also see their plight. They're in bad shape. Okay. So exporters आते हैं, designers आते हैं, काम दे जाते हैं, but nobody is really working on, you know, कि उनका आसपास का जो ambience है वो कैसे ठीक करें. गंदा सा कोई shed है जिसमें वो काम कर रहे हैं. You look at this one, the corner one. So I visited देहरादून के outskirts में एक छोटा सा गांव था. वहां पे this was a weaver's family. 6 लूम थे उनके पास. तो एक वो कच्ची दीवार खड़ी करके उन्होंने ऊपर शेड लगा दिया, एंड देयर इज नो लाइट. यू कैन सी दे वर्किंग ओनली इन डे लाइट, यानी कि शाम के 5 5:30 बजे तक वो काम कर सकते हैं. एंड उसके बाद क्योंकि लाइट नहीं है, और क्योंकि रिमोट एरिया में लाइट नहीं है, मतलब ये नहीं कि लाइट लगा नहीं सकते, लाइट की लाइन ही नहीं जा रही वहां पे. देयर इज नो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वायर देयर, सो बल्ब कहाँ से जलाएंगे. सो as designers, when you go out there, this is my request to all of you, that when you go out there, don't only look at that what can you gain from there, you know. And yes, as an individual maybe you cannot do too much, but you can, social media right now is a very big platform. uh, we as designers, what we do is हम कहीं जाते हैं तो we write about them, उनका नंबर डाल देते हैं फेसबुक पे कि ये आर्टिजन ये कर रहा है, या ये आर्टिजन दिल्ली हाट में आया हुआ है. Or if you are in contact with the government, or if you know anybody who can, you know, shake some trees and create maybe some policy, some training. So the whole point is this, that when you're out there working with the artisans or the artisan community, don't think of only taking from them. Give something in return. जा रहे हो तो 10 डिजाइन ही देके आ जाओ, हो सकता है वो डिजाइन उनके लिए काम कर जाए. So now we would be moving on scope of craft in the modern world. Of course, textile design and fashion design के लिए the scope is quite broad, but movies is one place where craft can take a very big part. Now, one is of course कि हम जब मूवीज में कुछ बनवा रहे हैं आर्टिजन से तो काम मिल रहा है, बट मूवीज आर ऑल्सो ट्रेंड सेटर्स. एंड जब रब ने बनारी जोड़ी आया था तो बीच में अचानक से फुलकारी बिकेम लाइक अ फैड. सो एंड द गुड थिंग दैट दे डिड इज फुलकारी के बड़े सारे ऑप्शंस मार्केट में मिल रहे हैं. नॉट एवरीबडी कम्स टू नो अबाउट इट कि वेदर वो ऑथेंटिक फुलकारी है या मशीन से बनी हुई है. These days there are prints also which look like fulkari. What I really liked about this movie was that they picked up absolute authentic fulkari and they worked on a whole range. So it was not कि पूरी movie में एक दुपट्टा, what was her name, whatever her name was in the character, she was wearing one dupatta. She was wearing throughout fulkaris ही पहनी उसने पूरी movie में. Similarly, Queen Elizabeth movie, all her dresses were done in Zari Zardozi, and they were done in India. So, and then again, Kashmiri Krul Ari work was done in the Beauty and Beast. Yeah, sorry. So these are artisan brothers who are very famous for their cruel embroidery, and the cruel embroidery was used for costume in the Beauty and the Beast movie. And so my point is this, that if you're costume designers, fashion designers, you can take the work of the artisans and not just go for, कि किसी factory में चले गए और वहां से बनवा लिया. It is your duty to give work to the artisans. Look at this. Mm, your basketry, cane, bamboo, and these days there are so many grasses. There's water hyacinth, there's sikki, moonj, willow, around 12 to 15 grasses which are very, very indigenous to India. And internationally, these brands, whether it's French Connection, it is Anthropology, they actually give very high value to these products, especially handcrafted products. So the whole idea is this, that craft का जो scope है वो बहुत बड़ा है, especially international market में, because they give very, very high value to handwork. And what is very interesting about international brands is that, number one, they understand that it is handcrafted, it takes time. अपनी तरफ से वो जब वो mass produce करवाते हैं, whether it is a few thousand pieces or just 100 pieces, they give enough time for you to work on it, the artisan to work on it, and they give good money also. Now the issue is this, that फ्रेंच कनेक्शन तक कौन पहुंचेगा या एंथ्रोपोलॉजी तक कौन पहुंचेगा. तो जो हमारी आर्टिजन कम्युनिटी है, it could be the language problem, it could be that they are located remotely, they are not able to reach these buyers in the right way or maybe directly. But that doesn't matter. If you are a designer, you started your export house or you started your design studio, and at the end of the day you're still giving work to the artisan community, and whereas you are further selling it to French Connection, whether it is Anthropology, whether it is Potteries Barn, there's J. Lewis, there's so many brands who are ready to take craft. There's H&M also now. IKEA is doing a lot of production in India. So these brands, they want to pick up handcrafted products. Anthropology works a lot on iktat fabrics. Iktat आपका तेलंगाना में बनता है, which is a tie and dye fabric, tie and dye during the time of weaving, not after weaving. Craft is also being used in science. Now, this is not a traditional Indian craft. Aapka origami is a Japanese craft, but NASA has come up with a satellite. So what was happening is that this satellite, this is like a solar panel which opens up like a fan. And because space में बहुत ज़्यादा debris होती है, there's a lot of movement of debris, stones, and a lot of things. So ये जब तक खुला रहता है, तो they come and strike it and it breaks. So the whole idea was that only when the satellite is facing the sun, it should be open. But sending the satellite out with an open thing was getting too risky, and they didn't know how to close it. So they came up with an idea where, if you see origami products, they can contract and expand. And they came up with this whole thing that, there is a link here. I could play it. Let me see if it works. No, it's not working. I'll share this link. I would want all of you, especially students who are in product design, they must go through this, and not just this video, but related videos to this, where it says that how origami is being used in a lot of scientific sector. I will be also talking about 3 case studies, how design entrepreneurs have taken very, very traditional crafts and brought it to the contemporary world but not only in the product. So very different products. Usually craft में क्या होता है, या तो आपकी वो कुर्सी बन गई, बास्केट बन गई, या फैशन वाले garments बना लेते हैं. These are three very different case studies, and we are going to see this now. So Gond art basically is a tribal painting from Madhya Pradesh and a little from Maharashtra also. Basically, it's dot करके, it's like a pointillism kind of a painting, very colorful, and usually human figures नहीं होते हैं उसमें, especially in India. There's a lot of motifs which are trees and animals. So we will look at this. It's a typical Gond painting on the right hand side. Now, what is very interesting is that the dot effect of the tribal painting is somehow a little similar to the Aboriginal tribes of Australia also. And we have a cinematographer, Mr. Rajiv Sethi, who has a organization called GEO, and Asian Heritage Foundation. In fact, he's quite renowned in the circles of craft because he has also designed and decorated airport terminal of Mumbai, and a little in Delhi also, Terminal 3. His thought process and his vision is to do something big, grand. He's not into कि मैं 1000 पीस या 4000 पीस बना लूं और मैं उसमें से कुछ कमा लूं, because उसमें margin कम होता है. So he does huge things, but they're like wow, they're absolutely wow, and they're huge installations. So basically, this talks about how your Gond paintings came into existence and what is the whole mythology and the colors and the patterns behind it. And as I said, that there is a common theme between your Aboriginal art from Australia and India. So what Rajiv Sethi did is that he contacted Venkatraman Singh Sham. He is one of the master artisans in Gond art painting, and he, with the Australian artisans, came up with a plan where they would want to amalgamate both the crafts and work on an installation. I'll be running that video now. You might not hear the sound of it, but I've switched on the subtitles. Do have a look at it. Otherwise, you can look at it at a later stage also.
Long before borders, 200 million years after it was formed, Gondwana began to break up, and after centuries of drifting in the ocean, finally reached the continents of Asia, Africa, and Oceania. Celebrating the aura and of biographies and memories, long before the advent of human civilization, this signature stanza has been created by the internationally acclaimed sonographer Rajiv.
That's Rajiv Sethi, the one with the white hair.
And from the Aboriginal from Australia, who also refer to an site with this structure. God and Aboriginal art share inspiration from our own stories about creation and bringing life of nations and gods.
Showing here is called Gondwana. So it's really about a continent that has memories that are based in Africa, in India, in Australia, that suggest common civilization history. Ever since I've been going into interior areas in Australia to meet with the Aboriginal artists, they have been speaking about Gondwana. I've met wonderful gold tribals who don't know where Australia is, don't see Australian Aborigines, no, Indians. Very similar terms. I think we were privileged to be able to get three extremely eminent Australian painters, bring together the Aboriginal craftsmen from Australia with the gold tribal painters from India. Great tribute to great nations. Adani Group's presence and agreeing to do something which is cross-cultural has great meaning to creative community.
So the Adani group of companies had sponsored uh, this whole installation, and this installation has been installed in their headquarter office, where Australian artisans, tribal artisans, and Indian artisans were brought together, and they did a painting in dots and dashes, depicting the whole theme and inspiration of both the common shared uh, art. The next case study I want to talk about is negative applique from Barmer. So applique is basically the textile or the fashion design students would be already knowing about it. Applique is basically that when you put another layer of fabric on top of a fabric and it looks like patchwork. Negative applique is that I've put another fabric on top of it and then I've made a slit on it and then I fold it in between, and then what happens is जो नीचे वाला fabric है वो ऊपर दिखने लग जाता है. So it's a very interesting technique which is mostly being done in Rajasthan. A lot of it is being done in Udaipur and Barmer. So usually the technique is being used in home furnishings and a little of saris also. And these are the typical patterns which are being done. Now we have a sorry. We have a communication designer, a very famous Indian communication designer by the name of Ishan Khosla, and he's famous for his typography. And he did this project with the help of Rangasutra and Roshni Sanstha in Barmer. Why I want to talk about this particular case study or this particular project is that as designers, when we are working on ground, there are some things that we tend to forget because हमारे लिए वो बहुत easy है and हमारे दिमाग में वो बात आती ही नहीं कि ऐसा भी हो सकता है. So when Ishan went to the cluster and he explained कि मैं आपके craft में अपने typography करना चाहता हूँ, पहली चीज तो typography उनको समझ में नहीं आया कि typography क्या होती है. Cluster just couldn't understand what is typography. And then the whole thing was chalked out to them. And I'll take you through, I'm sorry, another series Yeah, so you don't need sound in this. So that is the end which happened. They did come up with a whole series of alphabets and numbers. That's the team which was involved, and this is how it started. So to understand कि क्या patterns होने चाहिए उसके अंदर, alphabets के अंदर, they said that instead of doing it on the fabric first, हम paper में cuttings करेंगे. So paper में they started doing a lot of cuttings. A lot of paper was given to them, to the artisans, and they did their own cuttings. Now let me walk you through कि जो ये हमारे बारमे वाले artisans हैं, the ladies who are involved in folding the fabric and stitching it by hand, they don't do the cutting. It's more like an assembly line. Fabric कोई और लेके आता है, fabric के ऊपर छपाई कोई और करता है, उसकी cutting कोई और करता है, and जो वो fabric cut होके paste होके, two layers pasted together with the cuts on it is given to the women. And then they know that उसको अंदर fold करना है और सिलना है. तो इन्होंने तो cutting कभी की ही नहीं. So that is why when Ishan Khosla gave them this project, he realized कि अब एक ही बंदा cutting कर रहा है तो इतनी जल्दी काम नहीं हो पाएगा. So he said, let's first practice on paper. So they started doing different cuts on paper, and then they put it up for display कि कौन सा design अच्छा लग रहा है. And then he said, let's start putting it into alphabets. The moment he said alphabet exploration, it came forward that none of them, maybe one or two of them were literate. None of them were literate. मतलब कि ABC तो बहुत दूर की बात है, क ख घ भी नहीं लिखना आता था, नंबर भी नहीं लिखने आते थे. They don't even sign their own signature. And there came this whole pause in the project कि अब क्या. So you know why I wanted to discuss about this project was that हम बहुत aspirations लेके अपने artisan community के पास चले जाते हैं कि हम ये करेंगे, हम वो करेंगे, हम इसमें ऐसा करेंगे, उनसे ये करवा लेंगे, and we don't really understand that what background they're coming from. The skill is very high, no doubt, but क्या वो समझ पा रहे हैं कि आप क्या बोल रहे हो? क्या वो समझ पा रहे हैं? Now you go and say हमें fuchsia pink color करना है, fuchsia नहीं पता उनको, दिखाना पड़ेगा कि fuchsia क्या होता है. So it is very important that you need to step down literally at their level to understand कि वो कैसे समझेंगे. तो आपको उनकी भाषा बोलनी पड़ती है. तो जब ये realize हुआ कि none of them are literate, so then what they did is they actually cut out the shapes of the alphabet in the shape, and then they said कि इसके अंदर अब आप cutting कीजिए. तो जब A काट के दिया गया उनको, so it was not A for them, it was design 1. They could never look at it as A. They didn't understand that it is A. So while working, बहुत सारी बातें हुई, and then as it says that there was a lot of community building, because जैसे मैंने कहा कि कहानियां बाहर निकली कि they are not even literate, and then the whole idea came that कुछ करना चाहिए, at least they should be able to read if not write. So Kastura Ramji was the master artisan there, who was the main cutter. He knew कि cutting कैसे करनी है, because cutting is also important कि जो आपका black and white contrast दिख रहा है, the negative and positive which is showing, वो दिखना चाहिए. मतलब cutting इस तरह से ना हो कि पूरा ही कट जाए. So that was also, so he was one of the main persons from the community who actually became like a project head. And that is how he also gained confidence. And today Kastura Ram has his own small community enterprise where he has started working as an entrepreneur now rather than working as a wage earner. So पहले क्या होता था, लोग कस्तूरा राम जी के पास जाते थे और doing it more like job work. Now through this workshop, his confidence got built up and he says मैं खुद भी कर सकता हूँ. Why should I be dependent on others? और वो खुद का सामान बनाते हैं और खुद के ब्रांड से बेचते हैं. So these are some of the design explorations. So paper पे बहुत exploration किए गए, and then it was decided which ones to be taken forward, and to make sure that it looks perfect, it was decided that it will be done on 2 colors only, 2 stark colors. तो पुराने डिजाइन जैसे ट्री ऑफ लाइफ वो ऑलरेडी बना रहे थे, सो इट वाज डिसाइडेड दैट ट्री ऑफ लाइफ भी कहीं पे इनकॉर्पोरेट किया जाना चाहिए. So this is just before work in progress, black and white पे किया गया. And that's the final thing. If you, I would want especially communication design students to go on Ishan Khosla's website, and he has come up with very interesting, ये पूरे project को उन्होंने अपने typography में डाला है, and he's come up with these very nice phrases which talk about the desert life. And in fact, you can look at his other works also, where he has incorporated other different crafts into his typography. So typography is not only कि आपने कोई सुंदर सा font design कर लिया, but with some serifs change in it, some other rules of it by changing it, but you can actually bring craft to your communication design also. So that was typography, craft being brought in typography. Now we are going to talk about, this is also a communication design, more than communication design, a branding project which was done by Lopez Design. Peeply is a craft. Again, this is positive applique. जो हमने इससे पहले किया था वो नेगेटिव एप्लीक है, ये पॉजिटिव एप्लीक है. पीपली एक छोटा सा गांव है उड़ीसा में, एंड वहां पे ये काम किया जाता है एप्लीक का, और द वर्क इज आल्सो नोन एज पीपली. इनफैक्ट पीपली गांव पे मूवी भी बनी हुई है, शाहरुख खान की एक मूवी थी, I'm forgetting the name. So what Lopez Design did is that they had one of their employees was from Orissa, and they said that कि हमें कोई craft लेके आना है for the conference that they were doing it. So it was an international conference, and the chief guest was, of course, Prime Minister Modi, and they thought that they're going to bring the whole ideation of deeply work, but not in the typical designs of the hathis and the ghodas, but more in terms of, so the whole conference was on social development goals, SDGs. So they took the craft of Peeply and they brought the motives of SDGs and they amalgamated it. And the whole conference branding was done through Peeply, whether it was the banners or the file folders, the conference bags. And what was very interesting was that they even brought the artisans from Peeply and brought them and made them sit in the conference where they were doing live demos. And if you'll go on Lopez Design's website, because my videos are not running properly, they have even turned, so they picked up each motif of Peeply and they've turned it into an animation, which is done very beautifully. You should have a look at it. So these are the different SDGs which were turned into Peeply work. This is apply. This is not print. ये एक piece apply किया गया है. Let me see if I can just run it also. No, not this one.
हम लोग बांटते थे यस पे और कंसर्न इंडिया फाउंडेशन
I'm sorry, it's not running. Bhavna ma'am, I'll send you the links of all the videos of YouTube. Please do share it with students. I would want them to see each of it, because it will open up their mind that how craft can be used in different sectors. And it's, and so much so that a textile craft can be used in communication design, a textile craft can be used in product design, or wood or a paper or a leather product can be used in textiles. So what is very interesting about craft is that the techniques are interchangeable in materials. It is how you would want to look at it and not have a very rigid and one-sided track. So this is what they did. And in fact, they brought the tailor also at the conference, and some of them in fact got their customized designs also done. So that was the branding of the whole conference. Here you can actually see that each piece has been hand stitched. So every color which is different is a different piece of fabric which has been hand stitched. Okay, so I also wanted to discuss, because mostly students are on this webinar today, what is your role in craft sector? So your role is not only designing products by using the technique of the craft, but your role is that you can actually create awareness. As I said, you cannot think कि मैं अकेला क्या कर सकता हूँ. You can do wonders, especially with the social media thing today. So you can start running campaigns and drives. बीच में स्मृति ईरानी जी ने एक ड्राइव चलाया था आई वेयर हैंडलूम. वो थोड़ा डिस्टॉर्ट हो गया था because whoever was using the hashtag I wear handloom, technically it was not a handloom. Everybody was hashtagging it because वो कुछ ज़्यादा ही over viral हो गया, but it did serve purpose. A lot of women going to office also started wearing handloom sarees. So suddenly there was a major boost in the sales of handloom and hand block printed or hand embroidered sarees, which worked actually wonders for the artisan community. Print media. If you are a blogger or a writer or you do stories, if you're a communication design student, use print media to reach out to the people. They should know what is happening in the craft sector. You can make documentaries. So if students are going to craft documentation, now this is one of the sad parts. The sad part is this, that students do go for craft documentation. आप हफ्ता 10 दिन लगाते हो, इतनी मशक्कत से पूरा प्रोसेस सीख के आते हो, समझते हो, लिखते हो, फोटोग्राफी करते हो, यू डू सच ब्यूटीफुल इलस्ट्रेशंस, एक बहुत बढ़िया सी फाइल बनती है, उसमें आपको मार्क्स मिलते हैं, जूरी होती है, उसके बाद वो फाइल या तो आपके बैग में कहीं कोने में पड़ी रह जाती है या फिर वो कॉलेज की लाइब्रेरी में चली जाती है. It is a well documented documentary. It needs to be out there. Publish it. Wix पे चले जाओ, Behance पे चले जाओ, publish it and make it viral. Let people know कि आपने क्या बनाया है, because सिर्फ आपका नाम नहीं होगा, क्राफ्ट का भी नाम होगा जो आप क्राफ्ट कर रहे हो. Promote craft. You can promote craft through fashion shows. I'll be sharing some slides after this. Costume designing. So I have an ex-student from Pearl. She's a costume designer now, and she keeps calling me in between कि मैम मुझे इस सीन के लिए ये वाली शॉल चाहिए. So every time she calls, I realize that she's making her effort to bring something of craft sector in the movie wherever she is there. So costume design doesn't mean कि वो बड़े movie banners ही ये वाला काम कर सकते. If you make an effort, and even so आपके जो नेशनल ड्रामा शोज होते हैं या यहाँ कमानी ऑडिटोरियम में शोज होते हैं, I'm talking about Delhi. In fact, we have a ex-colleague, I'm forgetting her name, maybe Ankur sir knows. She does a lot of plays, and she does tie up with her designer circle to do the costume designing also. Create markets. Create markets का मतलब है so there are flea markets, there are fairs, but when you start your own enterprise or you're working somewhere, you make sure that you are doing some kind of work जिसमें craft sector involve हो रहा है. So then you're automatically creating an opportunity. How can you support artisans? You can support artisans by paying them fairly and not exploit them. You can educate them. अब जब आप जा रहे हो उनके साथ कुछ काम करने के लिए, as I said a lot of times earlier also, don't just take, give them also. Give them exposure, give back, and award them. So I have a few slides on this. As I said, I wear handloom. This is a very interesting example I wanted to say here of Coca-Cola. So around 2010, May Coca-Cola came up with this Whirly Art Wali ad during Diwali time. It's an animation where the whirly triangle men, they're dancing, and there's a whole theme behind it. And it did create a whole buzz. There was a very small script under the ad saying what it is and how it has been incorporated. But people did start reading about the craft, कि क्या है, who are these triangle men? So it did create a buzz. Print media, as I said, you can cover, and not just crafts, you can cover artisans also. So Amazon has come up with two branches of there. One is known as Amazon Saheli, and the other is known as Amazon Karigar. Amazon Saheli mein they onboard women artisans, and Amazon Karigar mein both men and women can come, but they're majorly talking about it. They give half-page newspaper ads. So वो एक आर्टिजन को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, ऑफ कोर्स अपने आप को भी प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, बट साथ के साथ क्राफ्ट को भी प्रमोट कर रहे हैं. As I said, fashion shows. Anita Dongri had done a fashion show where she made her artisans walk the ramp and gave due credit to them that पूरा collection की जो embroidery है वो इन artisans ने किया. It was a big buzz. So उसके बाद भी दो तीन designers ने they did a similar thing. Anavila Sindhu, who does the linen sarees, has started doing her shoots with the artisans now. जो viewers की wives होती हैं उन्हीं को पूरा मेकअप वेकअप करके साड़ी पहना के शूट होने लग गया है आजकल. Carry your culture. I really like this example when Aishwarya Rai was invited by Oprah for the Oprah show. The gift that she carried for her was a sari. And then she also draped the sari to her on the show. And it created a major buzz. So usually क्या होता है हम जब किसी के लिए गिफ्ट लेके जाते हैं तो we have a tendency कि expensive होना चाहिए, flashy होना चाहिए, brand का होना चाहिए. Let's not do that. Let's promote our artisans and let's take gifts from the artisan community. And believe me, जो जिसको gift मिल रहा है, he or she will be delighted because number one, the purchase has of course supported the artisan, but also it's a unique product. जो craft products हैं वो आपको run of the mill market में नहीं मिलते हैं. It's very difficult to find them when you know where to find them. Do not exploit the artisans. So this is a linen weaver in Bhagalpur. Usually आपकी लिनन की साड़ी की जो वीविंग है उसको 2700 से 4000 तक मिलते हैं. And the sarees are being sold at 57,000. Imagine. Look at the gap. Now, being a designer, you do say मैंने shoot कराया है, मैंने branding की है, I have to manage the cost of my store. पर कितना? मतलब उसमें से 2-4 हजार और दे सकते हो ना आर्टिजन को. तो ठीक है, थोड़ा और दे दो. So that's a request. Not always you have to do it, but it's a request. Other ways of promoting artisans is you educate them, you can give them exposure, you give back to them, create opportunities for them, award them, talk about them, take them to places. This is Rumi Devi from the Barmer cluster. She started with 5 women. Today she has 500 plus women under her. And ये खुद भी बैठ के काम करती हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि ये उनको सिर्फ मैनेज कर रही हैं. और ये पढ़ी लिखी नहीं है. In fact, Harvard University has given her an honorary degree also because the way she brought the whole village with her, and she's doing so well now. Craft and designers, हम जोड़ी. आप craft में क्या क्या कर सकते हो? If you're planning to work towards craft, of course, your fashion designers can design garments or they can be costume designers or stylists. Product designers can do wonders. I have a friend, she works in bamboo. Yes, recycling of used fabrics, Himanshi says. Nikita says, that is my hometown. Nikita, what is your hometown? I'm sorry, मैं बीच बीच में देख रही हूँ messages. So product designers, I was just saying that, oh, okay, Nikita. So I was saying that I have a friend, she has a brand called Rhizome and she makes products out of bamboo. And bamboo is the most sustainable material when you compare it with wood, because wood के लिए आपको trees काटने पड़ते हैं और एक tree को full fledged growth में 20 years लग जाते हैं, whereas bamboo, once it shoots up, it takes only around 2 years to shoot up, and once you cut it, it grows again. That is the most unique thing about bamboo. So she works in bamboo and she's making beautiful products. She's making lampshades, fans, imagine floor fans, hangers. Her hangers do very well. You can check her out on my website. I'll share the website also. So I have a website also. Then if you are in communication design, if you're a writer, blogger, social media managers, you can create awareness. Now, some people, students I'm talking about, or designers, when you become budding designers, you might not be very good at doing something, but sometimes you are very good at teaching something. So it's not necessary that कि आपने teaching job में ही जाना है, but you can become trainers, skill development. Uh, People do hire, we do hire designers, young designers who can come on board for a project, whether it is weave design, embroidery design, print design. So you can become trainers also. If you have some good network with um, high authority people, you can become policy makers. Schemes निकलती हैं, अलग अलग policies निकलती हैं. अगर policy maker नहीं बनना, you can always, send out mails to the government saying that ऐसा कुछ होना चाहिए. You can become an artisan yourself. उसके लिए एक artisan card बनता है. It's very easy. आधे घंटे का टेस्ट होता है, जो भी आपका क्राफ्ट है आपने उसका टेस्ट देना होता है. Or you can be storytellers. Yeah, and finally, this is my favorite story. The name of my company, it's called 2323 Designs, and it's based on the theme of synchronicity. So almost 10 12 years back, whenever I used to look at time, it used to be this 11 11 12 12 555 666 नहीं हो सकता, but 222 333. So I started reading about it, and there's a concept known as synchronicity. It says that the higher authority in the world, some of you call it God, or some of you say that karma or destiny, it starts showing you simple signs that you're on the right path now. And this is one of the signs. So the official number for synchronicity is 1111, but 1111 was already registered. It is again a fashion brand by Mr. Himanshu. He's also Niftian, and he also works in sustainability, does only natural fibers and natural dyeing. Beautiful collection they have. So because it was already registered, so we decided to turn it into a 24-hour clock, and we started calling it 2323, and it has been a fantastic journey up till now, and I thoroughly enjoy what we do. And we mostly work in craft sector. Sorry. Yeah, that's about it. I'll also type down my website here.
All right. So in the meanwhile that ma'am shares the websites and the other things that she's promised us, do any student, do you have any questions that you would want to ask? In case if you have, you can please type it down in the chat box and I'll take it up from here. So ma'am, Vanshika wants to ask if we'd get the PPT. Definitely, Vanshika. And yes, it was certainly an enlightening experience to hear you, Sonali ma'am. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure all the students who've sat through the entire presentation have had an enlightening experience today. It was thoroughly engaging. So Vanshika wants to know if we get the PPT.
Yeah, I could give you some parts of the PPT. I'll list down, as I said, I'll list down the videos, and the videos are my personal videos. So I'll list down the YouTube links and maybe the topics where you can study more about it. I'll give you the links and you can have a look at it.
That would certainly be very helpful, ma'am. Anything else that anyone of you wants to talk about, wants to ask?
Akshita, or maybe I did not send you examples of interior design, but craft में interior design interior design में craft भी बहुत use हो रहा है. So there is a designer, a textile designer by the name of Chandrasekhar Bhera. He does a lot of textile based interior decoration pieces, huge wall arts. Under interior decoration, because interior decoration is bringing pieces together and creating beautiful corners or beautiful walls. So craft में आपका under interior decoration, there's so many products. So your furniture, your home decor, whether it is terracotta, woodwork, metal, there's too much there. So yes,
As well as
we
gold
bring it
that you
in.
mentioned, ma'am, and you mentioned about the Adani headquarter having the same.
Yeah, that was like an installation, but I did
Yeah.
mention Anthropology and FCUK and other brands. So if you look at these brands, you have West Elm, you have Pottery Barn, there's John Lewis, all these brands, and in fact, IKEA and your H&M. H&M has just come up with a artisanal collection. Then there's Toast. These are international brands. Of course, your national brands. For example, under the Ministry of Rural Development, we've just launched a store called Saras. It's on Baba Khadak Singh Marg. In fact, if students ever want to go there, let me know. I'll tie it up with the management. Every craft of India is there. And Reliance is coming up with a store by the name of Swadeshi, where, interiors can be absolutely filled up with these craft products.
Definitely, ma'am. We'll seek your help on that. So, ma'am, Palak, she's inquiring. She says that she's currently living in Delhi, and where can she find such artisans to learn different types of crafts from the first hand?
In Delhi, if you are planning to go about here and there, so there are a lot of social enterprises who are working with craft clusters. For example, Khirki Gaon mein, there is an Afghani community. They're doing some beautiful hand embroideries. So they work under UNHCR. One is there. एक आपका cluster निजामुद्दीन में है. वो हाथ की एम्ब्रॉयडरी, अड्डे की एम्ब्रॉयडरी करते हैं, हैंड क्रोशे करते हैं. If you're from Haryana, as I can see, a little towards on the Gurgaon road, the Sona road side, आगे जाके एक गांव आता है तिजारा गांव, वहां पे आपका पैच वर्क हो रहा है. इनफैक्ट अगर आप सोना रोड पे चले जाते हैं तो आगे जाके एक गांव आता है नू, वहां पे आपकी जो ये चिंदी की रस्सियां बनती हैं उससे वो वीविंग कर रहे हैं. You'll have to look out. So if you need help to maybe just go and maybe study one, I could connect you to a few clusters. But Instagram पे ढूंढो, बहुत जगह ढूंढो, आपको मिल जाएगा. ढूंढने पे सब कुछ मिलता है.
Thank you, Rini ma'am, for these suggestions. So Rini ma'am, she's one of the faculties in interior design. And while you were sharing about the various ways in which crafts can be incorporated into design, ma'am also mentioned here that in interior crafts can be used everywhere for fall ceiling, paneling, partitions, furniture, and many more.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Rini ma'am. Any more questions, dear students?
So, do your students also go for craft documentation?
Yes, ma'am. Because of COVID, yes, there was a break. But prior to that, yes, the students used to go for visits, for documentation, everything. And we're planning to restart the same shortly. Okay. So, yes. So, ma'am, Palak also wants to know how to start creating one's own brand at the student level.
So, Palak, number one, first you have to decide that what do you want to make and for whom do you want to make. So your audience is very important, because based on the audience, your design would be based. Any product, if it is any product, let's say you want to start designing jewelry. Okay, so are you making costume jewelry, everyday jewelry, which would be made out of any or every material, or you want to go into semi-precious, or if you want to go into semi-precious stones or semi-precious. So it depends who is your audience, how much are they ready to pay, and what is the kind of designs they like. Based on that, you start doing your design development. So आपका जो backend है वो बहुत strong होना चाहिए. कहाँ बनवाओगे, किससे बनवाओगे? Let's say you have an order, maybe you have a bulk order, या आप online भी बेच रहे हो तो उसका अगर repeat order आ जाता है, so do you have your backend strong? Once you have your backend strong, then you start talking about it. And talking about is through social media. You can hire an agency. Hire an agency is a lot of cost spending, but once you start talking about it, automatically it starts moving. And brand development के लिए, of course, आपको अपना brand name register करना पड़ता है. So you can always start on something with your own name, and maybe usually क्या होता है, if you're planning for a brand, then it is important कि आप उसको पहले ही register कर लो, because once your name becomes big and then you go back to register it, by the time you realize that somebody else has taken it. It has happened to us. So it's better that if you're planning for a brand, do your homework of whatever I just told you and register your brand, and then keep on, working on it.
Okay, so Palak is right now in first year, and she wants to probably fast pace it, and she says that she does not have enough time to start the business. So
do it on your
baby
own.
steps is probably what she's looking
Start
at.
making it on your own. So if you have enough time on you, so sustainable accessories and clothing के लिए तो आपको unit चाहिए होगा. But if you're planning for sustainable accessories, I would suggest start doing it on your own. And first, of course, start with your own community. When I say community, it means your peer group, and then maybe your society, your friends, family. Create a buzz. Ask them to forward your designs to other people, and slowly and steadily it will automatically grow. पहले बनाना शुरू करो.
Absolutely. So a thought process, and then probably starting with the first thing first. All right. Okay. So there's a big thank you from Palak to you, ma'am, on the information. And on this note, then, ma'am, I thank you on behalf of the entire teaching fraternity as well as the students. Thank you so much for such an enlightening session and sharing your personal experiences and everything with us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank
Closing
you
it
for
on
the
this note,
opportunity.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good day.